Fanalysis combines the analytics of fantasy football with the metrics of sports betting to find you the sharpest angles. And joining us to find that edge is the host at SportsGrid, Kevin Walsh. Kevin, the Jets, 13.5-point dogs in Seattle. That line is so tempting, but you see this game in a different way, don't you?
Well, you know, I gotta say it, Steve. I don't know which side you're tempted by because both feel pretty difficult for me, and that's why I'm going towards the total. I just think it's a safer way to play this football game right now. The Seahawks have gone back to a more boring brand of football where they're running it too much. It cost them the game last week against the New York Giants, where it was the fourth quarter, and they're like, "Hey, Russ, can you bail us out?" And he's like, "A little too late, guys," and he wasn't able to get the job done. They've now played to 4 straight unders. The defense is playing better, whether it's because of the quarterbacks they're seeing or not. They're only allowing 19.5 points per game over that window, which is a massive upgrade from when it felt like they were giving up 50 a night earlier in the season. And as far as the Jets go, Steve, I mean, it's the lowest scoring offense in football. I mean, they don't play well at home, but they certainly don't play well on the road either. 3 of their last 4 road games have gone under the number. And if possible, Greg Williams was for some reason, he had no idea what year it was. He was just saying, let's stop the run, no matter what. That's how Mahomes covered a 20.5-point spread at MetLife, because he was like, oh, I'm going to sell out to stop Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Like, what an insane decision that was from Greg Williams. Obviously, the most insane decision was made last week. But now that he's gone, I just think that the Jets, if there's any type of fight left on the defensive side of the ball, they just hold Seattle somewhat in check, and this game goes under.
And I think that you brought up a great point, because I think that if there's one thing that we know about the Jets is that this team has not stopped fighting throughout the season. They have not given up. They've not thrown in the towel. But the reason that I think that it's tempting to go with the Jets side on this one is because the over-under is at 47.5 and the spread is at 13.5. There's a real small window there to try to hit the under / over 13.5 as well. So it just seems like those don't play together. It seems like there's a much greater opportunity for a backdoor cover.
Yeah, the Jets only need to do so much to cover this number, right? Whether it's something over the top with Rashard Perriman, if they force a turnover and they're set up in a quick scoring position, they will be in prime position to cover this number. But also, Jamal Adams is going to be waiting on the other side, and he might have a game so good that he all of a sudden enters a Defensive Player of the Year conversation based on one good game alone, because we know that he's been waiting for this matchup all year long. And I think Seattle and that group on the defensive side are going to want to go out there and give him their absolute best effort imaginable.
Oh, I'm sure. And he's an in-the-box safety that loves to attack the quarterback. If he all of a sudden turns into a pass coverage safety, then the Jets are, you know, it's definitely not going to look good. But I can guarantee you the Jets are going to go deep and test his pass coverage skills at least a couple of times in this game. Giants, 3-point home dogs to the Cardinals. Arizona has lost 4 of 5, and that one win was the Hail Murray pass. But are they just a better team than the Giants? I mean, is there any analytic that can kind of support that they're just a better team?
Well, I got to be honest with you. This is a tough one here because not only have the Cardinals lost 4 or 5, and you mentioned it, the one win was fluky. Let's just, like, that's not a sustainable way to win football games. And the Giants have won 4 in a row. So these are 2 teams that are certainly going in opposite directions. I can't believe, if you would have told me weeks ago, Steve, that these teams are going to play, and if the Giants get the win, they'd have the same record. I mean, there's just no way I'm believing that in a million years. But here's the deal with the Giants. They just beat a team with a winning record for the first time since Eli was quarterbacking in a game against the Bears.
Wow.
Now, I know that the Cardinals only check in at 500, but that feels like a real tall task for them to win their 5th game in a row, 2nd game in a row against what I think is still a solid enough team in Arizona. And I think the big thing for the Cardinals has been Kyler Murray's shoulder. It clearly is banged up. He is clearly fighting through it, but week by week, I think he's going to be getting healthier and healthier. Last week, Arizona lost that game to the LA Rams, but they did put up 28 points. So I think the offense is going to start to come back to the fold a little bit here, and I think they're going to be able to attack the Giants, whether it be on the ground or through the air.
That's the thing, is trying to figure out which of the recency bias certainly is going to play a factor every single week in what you're going to be betting, which side of the line you're going to be betting on. It's got to be difficult though when you see two teams that are both evolving in different directions.
And that's why you mentioned recency bias. I think this week there are a bunch of home underdogs. I mean, a ton. I think it's like 10 home underdogs.
And pros love home dogs.
Right. No, 100% they do. So I think my rule of thumb this week is if I am going to back a road favorite, I want it to be a team that at the minimum did not cover last week, or a team that people are not excited to bet. Because that way I can at least feel like I'm not falling headfirst into an, oh, what an easy, obvious trap play.
Well, if there's one thing that we know is that late in the season, always bet against the public. Fade the public as much as possible, and you're probably going to be on the right side of the ledger. That's a look at how he sees the Jets and the Giants games. You can see the rest of his picks on SportsGrid. For Kevin Walsh of SportsGrid, I'm Steve Overmyer. This is Fanalysis.